Hey there, it's time for the show, the Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tatiana Show. Today, we're going to be joined by John Light of the Aragon Project. But first and foremost, I must introduce you to my wonderful co-host, Josh Shigala of Vaultoro. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
G'day, Tatiana. It's wonderful to be back. I'm very excited to talk with John Light. I haven't seen him on the show for a while.
The last time that we did a show with John, or one of the last times we did one, was about copyright for musicians. And I thought that was a good show. We should probably revisit that at some point. It was pretty heated.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was fascinating because we talked about how, you know, in a stateless environment, how would the artist get paid? Or if you don't have copyright, if you don't have someone enforcing on behalf of the artist. And now I think this goes on to what Aragon is trying to do now with DAOs and decentralized autonomous organizations, trying to decouple from the state apparatus a lot of the functions of the state. So I find these topics absolutely fascinating. So I'm very, very interested to get into it.
Before we get started, any news from Berlin? I know that you have some personal news. I don't know if you want to share it with the audience, but anything going on with the Voltoro?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, personally, we're having a kid soon, so that's exciting, getting all ready. But, and we put our wedding marriage certificate on the blockchain like you do as a true cypherpunk.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Very exciting.
Did you put it on the blockchain again? I think you told me one time, but I'm just curious.
Well, we took a photo of me and her holding the certificate, and then we hashed that in. And so in the future, if someone needs proof that that's an original certificate that I'm giving them, I can also show them the photo that we hashed of us holding that certificate, and then they can rehash it and look at the timestamp and go, oh yeah, look, it's the same information. This is the original certificate I'm looking at. So I kind of don't need a notar, pay a notar, like, hundreds of dollars to notary, like a notary to prove that something is original. I can use the blockchain. I mean, it's kind of an edge case. It's more of a fun sort of thing to do, but I think it's really cool.
Awesome. And what's up with Vaultoro?
Yeah, well, Vaultoro, we're almost ready to launch the beta of Vaultoro 2.0, which is fascinating. So it'll allow other tokens to trade with physical allocated insured gold. And also we're launching a Vault token, which this is an exclusive here on the Tatiana Show. This is a token that's it's like a club membership discount voucher token, kind of like BNB, like Binance's BNB, and it will allow discounts and stuff. So we're going to airdrop that to current Vaultoro users. So if you're not a member of Vaultoro, I reckon you should sign up to Vaultoro.com, and then you'll get part of that airdrop. So that's exciting.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, I don't know what I have to talk to you about. I had my birthday. That was exciting. And hooray.
Yeah. Happy birthday. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
Did you do anything?
Yes. We went to dinner in the city. We went to dinner in Jersey and the spa, which is probably the best part of the weekend. But now we're past that and the world can continue onward. I feel like birthdays require so much energy and joy. You have to be very joyful for people and engaged. And I'm just glad that it's over. And I can
go back to being a grumble bum.
Not a grumble bum, but I'm just saying, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No. There's a lot of stuff going on over the past week, so I wasn't really in the best of moods. But that's fine. Anywho, I am excited because I'm going to go hang out with the Bitcoin Magazine team soon, going down to Nashville, so that'll be fun. And I'll be at the Baltic Honey Badger Conference in Riga in Latvia in mid-September, so that'll be cool. And,
Riga's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited about that. And, we've got John coming up. So why don't we get to the show? John, thank you so much for joining us today. John is, besides being a good friend of mine, he is the comms team lead at Aragon One, a company formed by the founders of the Aragon Project to help build the tools and the community necessary for the project to succeed. He also previously co-founded BitSeat, hosted the P2P Connects Us podcast, and founded the Buttonwood SF cryptocurrency trading meetup. So thanks, John, for joining us today once again on the Tatiana Show.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Tatiana.
Wonderful. So what's been going on? How are you doing?
Doing great. Traveling a lot for work. The Aragon One team is fully distributed. So every quarter we all get together for a team offsite at an undisclosed location somewhere in the world. It changes every quarter, and then I'm also going to a lot of events, organizing community events in different cities around the world, wherever there might be some crypto gatherings going on. So have been enjoying the travel and seeing new countries, new places I haven't been before. It's been a lot of fun meeting really awesome people, seeing really interesting new places. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
I love the idea of distributed company. I think it's great.
I'm a little bit skeptical. I think that you need some sort of decision makers that are there with more flexibility than the rigid structure of a company. But before we get into that, because I actually think that would be worth going into, can you tell our audience a little bit about what Aragon One is? Because I think that's the main thing we're going to be talking about. So yeah, it'd be great if you could give us an intro to the project.
Yeah, for sure. So Aragon One is one of the teams that is contracted by the Aragon Association to work full-time on the Aragon project. So the Aragon project is a project to create a platform for creating and managing basically blockchain-based organizations. So organizations that are made up of smart contracts instead of paper contracts or legal contracts. And the project was formed back in early 2017 by Luis Cuende and Jorge Izquierdo, and was originally a Estonian nonprofit that was leading the project called the Aragon Institute. And then recently the nonprofit moved to Switzerland and is now the Aragon Association. So the Aragon Association holds all of the funds that were raised in a crowd sale back in 2017, and then gives grants to different teams to work full time on developing the Aragon project software, as well as to organize community events and generally, do all of the different types of activities that we need for the project to be successful. So the Aragon Association is now leading the project from Switzerland, giving grants to different teams, and Aragon One, the company that I work for, is one of those teams that is receiving grants from the Aragon Association to work on the project full time.
So it sounds like a hybrid solution a little bit, right?
What do you mean by hybrid exactly?
Meaning like it's taking the best of like the DAO structure, but then also using people to make some of the other decisions in terms of how the money is distributed. Or am I missing something?
Yeah, in a way right now it is kind of in a transition from, say, fully centralized, where it's just like one team that's doing everything, to something that's more like fully decentralized, where all of the decision making is mediated by smart contracts, and there's like no traditional legal entities or anything like that involved. So we're kind of somewhere in the middle along that transition spectrum from fully centralized to decentralized, where, we started with just the Aragon Institute, the original Estonian nonprofit, funding one team to work on the project full time. And then last year we started decentralizing the project a bit. And so the Aragon Institute started giving grants to Aragon One as a separate company. So we were the first full-time team to work separately from the Aragon Institute on the project. And then in October of last year, Aragon launched our software for managing decentralized organizations onto the Ethereum mainnet. And so then there's a token that's associated with the project called ANT, which is a governance token that people who contributed funds to the original crowd sale can use to vote on different proposals for funding different aspects of the project. So ANT, so once we launched the Aragon software onto the Ethereum mainnet, ANT holders could then vote on proposals to fund different teams in addition to Aragon One. So in January of this year, we held the first Aragon Network vote, where anybody in the world could submit proposals and say, hey, I have an idea that I want to get funded, or I have some proposal where I want to change some aspect of what we do about the project. And several different teams have since applied for funding to work on different aspects of the project. Maybe they have an idea for an Aragon app or a suite of different apps. Maybe they want to contribute to core Aragon OS development. So now we have 2 other teams in addition to Aragon One that are working full time on the Aragon project, who were approved by A&T holders to receive funding. And that is Autark, which was the first team other than Aragon One. So this, I guess you could call it the second team that was funded independently. And then most recently, Aragon Black is another team that was funded to work on Aragon full time. So at this point, we have the Aragon Association that is the original, holding the original funds that were raised in the crowd sale, and they're giving grants to 3 different teams now, which is Aragon One, Autark, and Aragon Black. And so the hope is that eventually, we'll be able to actually dissolve the Aragon Association and turn over control of all the funds directly to an Aragon organization that is governed by A&T holders directly. And we can kind of go, full DAO, but, the software is still relatively immature. It just launched on mainnet less than a year ago. And I think there are still, a lot of, say, uncertainties to figure out about, how to, say, protect against different weird incentive misalignments and, potentially like software bugs and things like that. We don't want to have another, recreation of the DAO, the infamous DAO that tore the Ethereum network apart. So we're definitely playing it cautiously, but still trying to move in the direction from, fully centralized to more decentralized.
Can I ask you a question? How much money did you guys raise when you did your initial ICO?
It was, I believe it was 275,000 Ether, or about $25 million at the time.
So let me ask you, what happens if you have like a DAO organization? Obviously you guys have some infrastructure initially, but it seems like a lot of people, because they kept their tokens in, crypto form, they lost a lot of money when the market went down. It seems like, as much as it pains me to say this, it seems like the smarter play would be to take your money out and put it into USD. But if you have a
gold.
DAO,
that's what a lot
or gold, yes, very good, Josh, absolutely. Right, so you could put it into something more stable. Is that something that you could do from a DAO structure that raised money that way, if there wasn't somebody in charge saying, hey, I'm the point person, I'm going to put my name in with the bank and we're going to get US dollars? And you're right, Josh, you could probably be the workaround there, but you also probably have KYC, so you'd need the identity of somebody doing that. Was that something that you guys even dealt with? And what are you guys' thoughts on that? Maybe this has been solved before, but I don't know. I just never thought of it that way.
That is a really great question. So we raised funds in early 2017. So timing wise, it almost couldn't have been better. The average USD price of Ether at the time was about $90. So, in terms of USD value, the Aragon Association has done very well. The runway has been extended by like 2.5 or 3 times since then, like 2.5 or 3 times the original amount, but it easily could have gone in the other, direction. So, it's a combination of timing and luck. The fact that the association just held on to the Ether, turned out for the best. And at the time, banks are still very like unfriendly to crypto companies, particularly in 2017, 2018, when there was just a lot of uncertainty. Regulators are getting involved and saying not too nice things about cryptocurrency and token sales, generally speaking. And so banks were kind of uncertain about working with an organization that raised funds in a crowd sale like that. And so that was kind of the main reason why the Aragon Association held on to, or the Aragon Institute at the time held on to its Ether and kept it in Ether form. But the situation since has drastically improved, both in terms of traditional banking access, but also for companies who prefer to stay fully on chain, now there is a lot of liquidity in at least 5 or 6 different, so-called stable assets. So, there are like tokenized forms of gold, tokenized forms of USD and euros and so on and so forth that have much better price stability features than pure ether.
Yeah, that's what we found, especially ICOs that happened at the end of 2017. We had a few of them hedge into gold because they couldn't get bank accounts. And so they hedged into gold, and they're still around because of it. I'd have to look up who they were because maybe I shouldn't even say. But that was a really good use case for what we're doing. And I think it's a really important one. I just wanted to go back again and talk about the Estonia deal. And I found this really fascinating because Estonia was a really forward-looking country, a lot of great things like the e-residency, but some of the weird regulations that recently popped up, and this is probably the reason why the Aragon Institute moved to Switzerland, is because they suddenly categorized a token that you could vote with to be a security. So it was like, oh, well, hang on a minute. So in America, if it's purely a voting thing, and even in Germany for that matter, then it's a type of utility. Yet Estonia, they made it, well, if you can vote with it, or if it's some sort of token where the community has some sort of say using this token, then it's considered a security. And it's like, what the heck? And it's almost like they did that because all these e-residency people were building companies that were really cutting edge, and they started to feel a bit unsure about this. But you see straight away this brain drain move away from somewhere with bad regulations to somewhere with good regulations, i.e. Switzerland. So I think it's a really good showcase of what happens if a country gets regulation wrong in this space. Yeah,
interestingly, I actually wasn't aware of the law that you just talked about there, because I'm not involved in the kind of day-to-day operations of the institute or the association. So I knew they had their reasons for moving, but I don't know their exact reasons. But if that is the case, I'm sure the lawyers probably brought that up at some point and, said either, this legislation is coming down the pike and you guys should do this proactively, or it was maybe reactive. I'm not sure how exactly the timing of that went down, but yeah, that's really interesting. And we're lucky that, that we're able to kind of shift the resources of the project around and kind of shop for a better jurisdiction. It's great that that's still possible. And with crypto, it's as easy as just sending an on-chain transaction. All the legal stuff in the background that takes months and months of work to legally transfer the assets from one jurisdiction to the other. But we were able to really do
interesting it. With use cases like yours or teams like yours, it's very interesting because a country, especially, I know this is what it's like in Germany and in the UK and most countries actually, if your team is substantially located in a certain place, then you can't just have a company in another place because they'll say, no, your company's here because the decisions are being made here. But if you start to really decentralize, like what you're saying that Aragon One is all about, it's that people are just literally everywhere. There is no central decision maker. Decisions are voted upon by a bunch of people in cyberspace, and it is almost like a different space, the internet. So it's fascinating, and to be able to, like, if some country comes up with a bad regulation, then regulation hacking means you really just close that company and open it in another jurisdiction. It's amazing.
Yeah, and right now Aragon One is also a Swiss company. So the Aragon Association is a Swiss association, and then Aragon One is a Swiss AG. There's like a contractual relationship between the entities for the Aragon One to deliver software and other goods and services to the association and the Aragon community. And so the founders of the project are currently in Switzerland, but even Switzerland's like residency requirements aren't that strict for companies that are based there. So they can travel, do meetups and conferences and our offsites like around the world. And the rest of the team, other than the founders, nearly everyone else lives outside of Switzerland, somewhere else where, like I said earlier, we're a fully distributed team. So yeah, the decisions are taking place in chat rooms and Zoom calls and stuff. So it's the question of where a decision is actually being made is currently like the internet. It's not really any particular physical location, because we could all be in different countries, not even in Switzerland or anything. So it's really interesting, and I think Aragon as a project is kind of taking that like concept to the next level and saying like you can actually have like a fully decentralized organization that doesn't even have like a traditional legal entity behind it, because all of the decisions are still enforceable using smart contracts instead of like a traditional contract and traditional court system. So
yeah,
we're really trying to see how far we can push it along that spectrum.
Yeah, let's dissect that a bit, because I had someone ask me the other day because I mentioned we were going to have you on the show, and someone said, well, why would I want to make a smart contract for my company? Like, I've got a company. Why do I need Aragon so I can create a DAO out of it? Like, why are there companies doing it? What do they look like? What are they using it for?
And also, what if they set it up with you and then you guys go out of business or something? You know what I mean? Like, why would they do it with one company versus another?
Yeah, let me try and take those questions a few at a time. So the questions were, why would somebody run a company using smart contracts? And then the other question is, what if Aragon goes away? So to the first question, why somebody would want to create like a decentralized organization based on smart contracts instead of traditional legal contracts, I can think of a few different reasons. One is that maybe maybe you can't set up a company like where you live. Maybe you're not of age. Maybe the bureaucracy is just too stifling, and maybe you live in a country where either there's a lot of corruption and you have to grease a lot of wheels and you don't have the resources to do that, but you still want to, just spin up some kind of entity so that you can work with other people and have some sort of security over the funds that are held by your company. Maybe it's not a problem of corruption. Maybe the legal system just isn't that, well developed in your country. So these are kind of the companies at the margin kind of use cases where, just as the same as like, with Bitcoin, where maybe you live in a country with, a poor monetary policy or really immature banking system, maybe cryptocurrency is a solution for you to send and receive payments either internationally or within your country. That's kind of a payments at the margin use case. I'm talking here about like a companies at the margin or organizations at the margin kind of use case, where you could theoretically set up a company where you live, but the barriers to doing so are just too high. And then there's another use case where it's maybe not practical to set up a company because everyone else who works for you lives somewhere else in the world. And, even if you were to like get in a dispute with them, the cost of arbitrating that dispute and actually enforcing that dispute would be too high because, these people live in other countries. How are they going to fly to a court in another country, or, you're going to get some sort of like court order that like pulls money out of their bank account in a different legal jurisdiction. You have to like go to a court there and like enforce it there. It's just like the logistics of enforcing disputes across international boundaries, particularly if the countries don't have various types of legal treaties with each other or international arbitration standards and these different solutions that people have cobbled together for doing international business with like multinational corporations. That doesn't always work if you're just like running a small software consultancy firm or something like that, and you want to have a company with other people. So in this kind of case, you have a company that is kind of global from day one, but there's not really a legal entity that is also global from day one where you can efficiently manage your business and resolve disputes. So Aragon could be a good solution for that kind of organization. And then finally, there's probably more options, but these are the big use cases that I think of a lot about. The last one I'll talk about is like a crypto native organizations. So these are organizations like, for example, if you have a smart contract system that's running on Ethereum and you've designed this smart contract system to be upgradable, how do you actually upgrade the smart contract? You could have one developer that, has a private key that they can sign a transaction to, say, freeze a contract and upgrade it to a new version if there's, for example, like a bug, or maybe they just added a new feature to the smart contract or something like that. But that's centralized. If it's just one developer that can upgrade your smart contract system, that's centralized, and it kind of defeats the purpose of like using a decentralized application. Then you can say, okay, well, we'll have a group of developers with maybe some third parties, security auditor signing off on this upgrade of this smart contract system. And that starts to look like an organization. And so you start to need different features that you think of when you have an organization, like permissions and authorization system, management of roles within the organization, like who has what role and what authority does each of those roles have. And it starts to get relatively complex depending on how many people and what are the different roles and types of authority that each of these roles has within the system. And so Aragon's providing the smart contract infrastructure for having a crypto native organization that can interface directly with smart contracts. So that rather than having like one developer in charge of a quote unquote decentralized smart contract system, you can actually have a decentralized network of developers, security auditors, maybe other third party stakeholders who would be signing off on any changes that are made to the smart contract system. So that's another example of a type of organization where Aragon probably is your only option for interfacing with that kind of system, because the blockchain is not aware of like anything outside of the blockchain. So it doesn't know about a traditional legal company and the legal authority that has been vested into each of the directors of this company and paper contracts. So you need a smart contract native organization structure to run a smart contract system or a crypto native system that way. Those are some of the use cases. Does that all answer your question?
Yeah. It's a good roundup.
Totally.
Brent,
Good use cases.
Cool. And then to Tatiana's question about, what happens if Aragon One goes away? Well, all of the Aragon smart contracts are live on Ethereum. Even our app, like the front end client that you use to interface with these smart contracts, is distributed through a decentralized system. So we actually built a decentralized system for deploying and publishing software called the Aragon Package Manager, and it works with our Aragon smart contract system and IPFS to actually distribute the Aragon client in a fully decentralized way. So as long as somebody out there in the world is running the Aragon client and they have their IPFS node turned on, everybody else will be able to get the Aragon client and use it. Of course, the software is also like up on GitHub. So even if the people go away, as long as like GitHub is still online and they keep our software online, people can get it from GitHub, people can get the software from IPFS, and they can interface with the contracts that live on Ethereum. So as long as Ethereum keeps running, they can continue using Aragon. And even if Ethereum stops running, they can just copy the smart contracts and drop them into another EVM compatible blockchain and continue running their organization on a different chain if they want to. So, we're at the smart contract and decentralized app level, I think we're actually one of the most decentralized apps out there. So it's not really reliant on us at all, at least to continue using the software as it exists in its current form. Of course, somebody else would have to take over, continuing to improve the system, but it's an open source project. We already have multiple teams working on it. Like I said, Aragon One is just one of these teams. So Autark and Aragon Black would, if Aragon One went away for some reason, they would hopefully continue still working on, continuing to improve the Aragon software. So that's at least part of the reason why we, started doing this gradual decentralization of power away from the Aragon Association to multiple teams, is so that, if something were to happen to one of those teams, either, legally or physically, or, we all get in a fight and we break up, whatever the situation may be, there will be other teams that can step up and continue, working on the project, and there's some resilience and redundancy built in. So
I like you're like one big zombie that can't be killed. It'll just keep wandering towards you, but a sexier one, like a sexy modern zombie.
Sexy modern zombie. Yeah. It's a swarm. It's a kind of multi-headed hydra. There's all these like different metaphors that people use, but it's getting to the point where it is a truly decentralized, resilient system that will hopefully outlive any one of us.
Awesome
Stuff.
All right, guys. Well, I think this has been a good Tatiana show. I'm glad to be joined today by both of you. John Light, where can people connect with you and find out more, and maybe, I don't know, get some Aragon action in their life?
Yeah, well, you can check out the Aragon project at Aragon.org, Aragon.org. And the company I work for, Aragon One, Aragon, Aragon.one, ONE. You can follow the project on Twitter at Aragon Project, Aragon One, at Aragon One Team. And then, if you want to follow me and get my take on all things cryptocurrency and decentralized governance and decentralized organizations and the various other random things I tweet about, you can follow me on Twitter at Litecoin, LIGHTCOIN. And I blog sometimes about different related topics on my website, liteco.in.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for listening in. Josh, any final words to the audience?
Yeah, if you want to catch up with me, I'm at Vaultoro on Twitter. That's Vault as in a gold vault, Vault, and Oro, which is Spanish for golds, Vault Oro. And sign up to Vaultoro.com if you want to hedge your crypto gains, your mad gains, into an allocated and insured asset.
Awesome. All right. Thanks everybody. Please check out my other podcast, Proof of Love. It's a little bit different from this one. It's not about politics. There's a little bit of crypto, but it's basically about relationships and emotional intelligence and okay, fine, some sex. Go to proofoflovecast.com and you can listen there. It's also on the LTB network. Thank you to our sponsors, Vaultoro, and also to Salt Lending. Make sure you check out Salt Lending. And thanks everybody for taking a listen. And we'll see you next time. Tatiana Show on Tuesdays, thetatianashow.com.
This episode of The Tatiana Show is brought to you by Vaultoro. Vaultoro is a gold hedging solution for the crypto community. One of the challenges of investing in cryptocurrencies is dealing with volatility. Keeping a diversified portfolio is a key to healthy returns. I keep about 10% of my crypto assets in gold using Vaultoro. Vaultoro allows me to open a gold wallet in seconds where I can easily trade with cryptos and gold. What I like about using Vaultoro instead of Tether is that the gold in my Vaultoro wallet is insured, audited, vaulted in Switzerland, and unlike fiat money, gold has increased in value for the last 20 years. Visit Vaultoro.gold/Tatiana today and get 0 trading fees for the first 3 months. That is Vault, like a gold vault, and Oro, which is Spanish for gold. Vaultoro, ole! You are listening to The Tatiana Show. This show may contain adult content, language, and humor and is intended for mature audiences. If that's not you, please stop listening. Nothing you hear on The Tatiana Show is intended as financial advice, legal advice, or really anything other than entertainment. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Oh, and if you're listening to us on an affiliate network, the ideas and views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network that you're listening on or of any sponsors or any affiliate products you may hear about on this show. Hey there, it's time for the show, The Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. We gotta think and reflect and use lots of intellect with our hearts when we work together. I know that it can be so hard out there, looking all around and saying that life ain't fair. So that is why we will fight and stay up late at night, listening to the Tatiana Show. What's the point of all this technology without a little love in our lives? Our hosts, Tatiana Moroz, Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and Lauren Kasovitz, have come together to bring you Proof of Love. Go to proofoflovecast.com. Thank you for listening to The Tatiana Show. Please follow us on Twitter at Queen Tatiana or on Facebook and Instagram at Tatiana Moroz Music. More episodes can be found at thetatianashow.com, and make sure you leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends. The Tatiana Show has been brought to you by CryptoMediaHub.com, a boutique marketing and PR agency for Bitcoin and beyond.